among the best. Our scholars have sit and passed every test and put us right alongside the rest. But then our pitch lake is the greatest one of its kind. Our sugar and oil is really refined. So you see, friends, this is a real thing, Solomon's mind. They just talk some nonsense. Me ain't know where they're doing it for. About so much violence, man, you would swear that we're fighting war. Of course, we have we delinquents to face, but just like any other place, look, things that I say about here is really too much for me to bear, because my people are daily making progress without any form of stupidness, and in this way we must gain success. For when we move in, we all move as one body, no bickering between you and me, for our policy stands for racial equality. Now when a stranger spending a little time in this lovely isle, every day you see him, he always have a hearty smile. When his time is up to depart, he would say with pride in heart, I'll be back, you could bet your life. And if I can't come, I go send my wife. And then he'll tell you he really wants her to come to drink some rum and have plenty fun in this great island in the sun. For Trinidadian, as foreigners do recall, it doesn't matter whether big or small, or if you're rich or poor, friends, we cater for one and all. So all of them were talking, they either drunk or they staring mad, or maybe they forgetting Mr. Universe belongs to Trinidad. And yet we have men of talent and skill, with high hopes of improving still. And if you think all this is a lie, the mighty sniper will tell you why. Now our steel bands is the best talent in this world. Like calypsos or stories are told, with this rhythm to touch your soul. So Trinidad, this lovely land of my book, small but overwhelming in woe. And as you know, Carnival is the greatest frolic on earth. Trinidad is my land, and of it I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people just talk it bad. But I know all of them we running them out, don't know where they're talking about. They would paint your black every day, and the right things they would never say. Like our sportsmen being rated among the best. Our scholars have sit and passed every test and put us right alongside the rest. But then our pitch lake is the greatest one of its kind. Our sugar and oil is really refined. So you see, friends, this is a real thing, Solomon's mind. They just talk some nonsense. Me ain't know where they're doing it for. About so much violence, man, you would swear that we're fighting war. Of course, we have we delinquents to face, but just like any other place, look, things that I say about here is really too much for me to bear, because my people are daily making progress without any form of stupidness, and in this way we must gain success. For when we move in, we all move as one body, no bickering between you and me, for our policy stands for racial equality. Now when a stranger spending a little time in this lovely isle, every day you see him, he always have a hearty smile. When his time is up to depart, he would say with pride in heart, I'll be back, you could bet your life. And if I can't come, I go send my wife. And then he'll tell you he really wants her to come, to drink some rum and have plenty fun in this great island in the sun. For Trinidadian, as foreigners do recall, it doesn't matter whether big or small, or if you're rich or poor, friends, we cater for one and all. So all of them we're talking, they either drunk or they steering mad, or maybe they forgetting Mr. Universe belongs to Trinidad. And yet we have men of talent and skill, with high hopes of improving still. And if you think all this is a lie, the mighty sniper won't tell you why. Now our steel band is the best talent in this world. Like calypsos or stories are told, with this rhythm to touch your soul. So Trinidad, this lovely land of my book, small but overwhelming in world.
Of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, and I must test, of course, to see whether or not I'm talking like a robot. Yes, indeed, of course. As I say, I must test to see whether or not I'm sounding like a robot first. Good, good, good. Now sounding like how I was supposed to sound. So let me repeat and let me reintroduce, of course. A pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web. A pleasant good day to you. Yes, it is, of course, the Corridor Transformation, your host, Leno Smith, on this Saturday evening. Yes, it doesn't matter what day it is, Trinidad and Tobago must, of course, prevail, must, of course, conquer, and must, of course, override and overcome the despotic, evil, wicked, diabolical, treacherous conduct of the present administration under the umbrella of an organization called the PNM, which has morphed into what? A criminal enterprise. And therefore, in such circumstances, we have a duty and responsibility, of course, not only to defend our democracy, but also, of course, to make certain that we can ameliorate and improve, of course, the circumstances of our fellow men and therefore citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, indeed. Welcome. And of course, it was not by accident, as per usual, that I would play, of course, a tune that is consistent, that is reminiscent of the circumstances of the day, or the, should I say, the basis for, of course, having tonight's or having our nightly presentations. Having said that, let me, of course, rewind, so to speak, of course, the patriotic song of Sniper. And let's say hear it again. I think it is refreshing, it is important, because, of course, on Thursday last, we did demonstrate as a people, and in unison, and, of course, in common sight, vision, and purpose. We went, of course, into Port-of-Spain, and we delivered a letter to the Auditor General indicating to her that we are in sympathy, we are in support, and we are clearly patriots who are prepared to defend our democracy against a marauding bunch of opportunistic political parasites who clearly have attempted, of course, to capture government. I'm saying attempted now because we know who they are, and therefore to talk about captive government, to talk about, of course, weaponizing government, to talk about a level of toxicity that, of course, none of us could have contemplated or comprehend, but nonetheless it exists, and therefore we have rolled back by our conduct, united in that effort to protect our democracy. We are, in fact, in the process of saving Trinidad and Tobago. 2025 must come, and therefore election. Something that, of course, Rowley and they clearly are now contemplating how they can delay, because the time is specific. The time is inevitable, and the time you cannot change. You see, it's the only thing that you can get back. That is the age or time, as well as, of course, you can get back. You cannot go back the time and say and pretend that next year will be 2024 or 2020 for that matter. But we have a government who will try, of course, to achieve that goal. So, Dr. Rowley, because he told us, and why I said very simple. He said that the government did not infringe on our constitutional rights. Let me repeat. Rowley said the government did not impose or infringe our constitutional right to vote. What the Council said in very plain English, losing common sense, and said when the government of Dr. Christopher Rowley, the evil man, the man who had most murders than any other prime minister, I thought in the future, because Kamala will be the next prime minister, more under his belt than any other, whether it be COVID, 5,000, whether it be first murders, literal murders from the criminal perspective, over 150 and something for the year so far. And then, of course, we have deaths of infants. They were, of course, premature babies. So I don't know, I don't have a word for that kind of killing, but I know infanticide is the killing of children. But I'm yet to find a word to describe killing of premature babies. I'll have to look up that. If any one of you have an idea as to a specific term in English that refers to the killing of premature babies, meaning that they were born premature but have been killed because of criminal negligence of the system to which they were born into, or which had the responsibility to make sure that they survive. Those are very considered to be troubling and very sensitive and very precarious period of their life. Having the right equipment and the right personnel and the hygiene conditions. What we saw was a collapse failure. And they have the audacity to go right back to the Prime Minister. And the audacity, the temerity, the gall, the energy, of course, face us and tell us that is what we think. That, of course, is par for the course. That, of course, when compared the amount that have survived, then, of course, that is a drop in the ocean. I say every life is important. And who the hell are they? Because we see that we have this bizarre situation where they know who must eat and who must eat as they continue to emasculate the economy and, of course, cause retrenchment and the contracting of the economy, so that our quality of standard of living and therefore the possibility of eating well and therefore surviving is, of course, rapidly reducing as consequence of policies, programs, initiatives that are having an impact to the interest of Trinidad and therefore our citizens, and we must call them out for who they are. But let's be clear, as we send it, as you will see in the background there, where, of course, we work in our numbers, as we have to alert the general events, of course, and we say push back, and 2024 must be arduous. Just for this moving bunch of opportunistic political parasites who morph into a criminal enterprise of a mafia style, a mafia syndicate, led by, of course, a pedophile rapist, evil, diabolical, and, of course, clearly incompetent individual called Christopher Rowley. Must be held culpable and accountable. But let's go closer to our patriotic disposition at this time. Yes, indeed. Again, something strange. Again, I'm something strange. Let me just monitor that. Yes. There's a. So we have another problem, people. Let me. Yes, indeed. I'm hearing yes, a speed. Okay, okay. I think we have solved that problem. Sorry about the speed in which the voice was being recorded and coming across the platform. Let me just once again test it and see. I think we better go straight, of course, to what we have planned. I think we have made it very, very clear. Let me just make sure again. We have made it very, very clear. Made it very, very clear. Let me see once again. Well, I think I better reboot and start again. I think we're getting a slight issue here. I'm going to reboot and start again. I'm not getting audio. Not getting the audio. At least I'm not hearing it in studio here. I'm seeing that everything seemed to be all right on the monitoring monitor. Let me just make certain of that. Yes, okay. Right. Let me check here now. No, something has gone wrong. Something has gone wrong. And anybody out there who's hearing me, you can call me now. Let me find out if things are you hearing the audio well? If not, let me just reboot and come again, because it makes no sense, of course, we doing something that will not be as beneficial as we would like, having regard to all of the efforts that would have gone into making this live possible. All right, not getting it, not feeling it, not seeing it. Let me see what's happening here. Yes, indeed. I'm hearing yes, a speed. Okay. I think we have solved that problem. Sorry about the speed in which the voice was being recorded and coming across the platform. All right. So I think I think that matter has been adjusted. I think that matter has been adjusted. But let me just of course formally begin the program. Yes, indeed. Let me make sure that we have everything set. I don't know if it's too much material I have to share tonight, and of course that very spectacular effort on last Thursday in Port of Spain in defense of the Auditor General. But that being as it may, let me just say to you that we are looking at, of course, trying to get. Let me see if we can get the. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night.
Good night to you.
All right, I just want to make sure everything is all right out there.
Yes, I'm hearing you now, but it was a while ago.
I can't understand why some people are talking bad, but I know all all of them we running them out. Don't know where they're talking about. They would paint your black every day, and the right things they would never.
Leno Smith was a good night to you and everybody on Alright, so I know reach home. No, for your program there and see like you having a little issue. But what going on? You don't want to the background there, like it's in a little low. You need to have to make an adjustment on the volume and stuff, but I seen everything crystal clear.
Same
Go check your audio. Look on and listen.
Yes, that's how it has to be. Yeah, man. That's how it has to be. Of course, you out there, you had quality controllers. You know, I had, talking about quality, I was, I got a scholarship.
If you're in live every night, you get
a program.
If you ask me to check 2.6 billion, we go get away. The most I could do is write it. I check that on us. I fight for it. I'm not going to sure you come down here 20 times, you have to find it in one of the...
All right, good, right. That was, in the background, that was, of course, the comments by many of the protesters. We could say that now. Of course, there we could say we were protesting. We assembled, of course, and we couldn't march, but we could assemble in a public place. So that in the background was some of the enthusiastic members of the protesting groups. So let us leave it there. I'll leave it mute for the time being in the background, and to, of course, continue with the efforts tonight. And I want to say it was an effort in tremendous patriotism. Patriotism is the name of the game, and therefore what you're seeing there in the background, in defense of our Auditor General, is real. It's real, people. And therefore, I was making the point earlier with respect to quality. And I was saying that you are the ones to, of course, determine the quality of the program. And I was given a scholarship to Barbados, I think they're in their technical facility where they develop, of course, those what I consider to be economists and other entrepreneurs that Barbados will produce. And I was invited, of course, through the Commonwealth Secretariat on a particular scholarship that was effectively an entrepreneurial course, really. And I will tell you, at the expense, of course, of the Barbadian and the Commonwealth Secretariat. And they opened my eye to what is quality. You see, quality is not something that is, while you could say it is objective, but it's really subjective. So that quality is broadly speaking, is once the customer is satisfied, the quality has been achieved. Once customer satisfaction is manifested, is achieved, then quality has been achieved. And I say so because when I remember going to Grenada, and in the county, or in the, not the county, they have what? The parish of St. David's. For the first time, I saw a petrol fridge, a fridge working with kerosene. And that was hilarious to me. And I want to know, well, why would you have a kerosene-operated refrigerator? And who will sell that? Because I come from a place, Trinidad, where, of course, electricity is the name of the game, and everything is run as far as domestic and kitchen and other items are concerned by electricity. But guess what? The people there were satisfied with their petrol run refrigerator. In fact, there was an incident where I saw my uncle, because I stayed by my uncle for a while there, and he went to the back of the refrigerator, and I suddenly heard vroom. And when I heard vroom, when he came back out, you know, like one of those cartoon shows, his whole face was black. Black smoke emanated from, of course, whatever contraption that is there in order to fuel and to generate the cooling that the refrigerator is designed so to do. And it was a bit, you know, hilarious to me. I had to laugh. But when I evaluated the whole thing, I realized that was good quality for them. Guess why? Electricity didn't reach that part of Grenada as yet. So I thought I should make the point about quality, and therefore, in the context of us, you monitoring that, of course, the blurring is either infrequent or has been eliminated, or that the audio is much better, right? So that we can have a better program. So let's go back, of course, to our patriotic theme tonight, where, of course, Sniper says, Trinidad is my land. You and I know that. And of it, all of us are proud and glad.
It's my land, and of it I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people just talk it bad. But I know all of them we running them out. Don't know where they're talking about. They would paint your black every day, and the right things they would never say. Like our sportsmen being raped.
Tell me.
Call us up, sit and pass every test, and put us right alongside the rest. But then our pitch lake is the greatest one of its kind. Our sugar and oil is really refined. So you see, friends, this is a real thing, Solomon's mind. They just talk some nonsense. Me ain't know where they're doing it for. About so much violence, man, you would swear that we fighting war. Of course, we have we delinquents to face, but just like any other place, look at things that.
You see, and that is what I talk about quality. Somebody just called and said they had not seen me on Facebook. And then when I looked, I did not engage a particular part of the program or the software in order to do so. I suspect you'll be seeing me now. All right? So, again, all of us must be monitoring and make certain that, of course, we have the best quality that is possible. But let's get back, of course, to Sniper and, of course, a portrait of Trinidad.
Every day you see him, he always have a hearty smile. When his time is up to depart, he would say with pride in heart, I'll be back, you could bet your life. And if I can't come, I go send my wife. And then he'll tell you, he really wants her to come, to drink some rum and have plenty fun in this great island in the sun. For Trinidadian, as foreigners to recall, it doesn't matter whether big or small, or if you're rich or poor, friends, we cater for one and all. So all of them were talking, they either drunk or they're staring mad, or maybe they forgetting Mr. Universe belongs to Trinidad. And yet we have men of talent and skill, with high hopes of improving still. And if you think all this is a lie, the mighty Sniper won't tell you why. Now our steel band is the best talent in this world. Like calypsos or stories are told, with this rhythm to touch your soul. So Trinidad, this lovely land of my book, small but overwhelming in wood. And as you know, Carnival is the greatest frolic on earth.
Yes, indeed, of course. So once again, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. Just in case, I know that Most of you obviously would only now be connected to Facebook. My apology. But of course, I have this nag now for quality and for consistency. And I thought that if I am not getting the video all right, if I'm not getting the voice all right, if I'm not getting on or being seen on both platforms, that I should take the time in order to do so, because at the end of the day, even in the case where you have to, of course, replay, you could easily quickly go past what the early challenges would have been in order to get to the substance and should I say the core of the issue that is supposed to be the purpose for the particular program for the particular night. That being as it may, once again, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, east, west, north, south, central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good day to you. Yes, this is the Saturday edition of the Corridor Transformation, your host, Leno Smith. I cannot, of course, hide or should I say, emasculate or bridle my enthusiasm and my appreciation and my elation about what transpired on Thursday. Yes, indeed, of course, it was an exhibition in patriotism, extraordinary. And I want, of course, to commend all of those persons who participated, whether they were there physically, preferably, but I'm sure that when you see those videos that are playing in the background here tonight, you would want to be part and parcel. And I want to commend, of course, I think there were two actual persons who came from the United States, I believe, in order to be part and parcel of this wonderful exhibition of course, patriotism. Let me, of course, extend my hearty greetings and appreciation to them, and to also say to them that, of course, we expect that in the second edition of this effort, we will, right down to, of course, 2025, we will be, of course, depending on you to participate in more ways than one. But that being as it may, let's go straight to the line. So we always give way to the callers. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Yes, good night.
Yes, good night. How are you going?
Bella, I'm all right. I'm all right in the circumstance. I'm extremely elated. I'm very enthused. I'm very infatuated, and as well as, of course, continue to plea and to pursue that course of action towards, of course, relieving Trinidad and Tobago of this albatross called the PNM and Dr. Rowley.
I see you're
coming across broken up, boy. What's happening with your?
Well, all
right, go ahead. You're sounding better now.
You're good.
Okay, you're sounding better now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought you went to TTPS Sports Center.
No, I didn't went there. Why you say that?
I see Erland Hines was there, and the story break yesterday. Where criminal entities posting a camera to spy on the police. So thief spying on the police now.
Well, yes. I'll give you a story. As you mentioned that, I'll give you a story right here on George Street. What occurs? That's why they can't be effective.
And Lennox, a member of the public had a point out that the TTPS for them to intervene. It's not them. So what them just really be doing? They're running this country by vaps.
It's obvious, whimsical, capricious, knee-jerk responses. You have seen all of that suggests that not only are they not good managers, but they clearly have lost their way and should be contemplated seriously and taken action so to do to get out of office.
And they were trying to get an interview with the Minister of National Security and all that. But them too busy running around the place for Sports Day.
For them, that's an opportunity to to demonstrate some kind of propaganda element and to show that somehow they are efficacious by holding a sports day. And then, of course, only today I was referring to the Tonopuna parliamentary representative Ford. They say anytime there's a funeral, you bet your bottom dollar in the constituency Ford shows up. Every time there is some kind of sports event or some kind of wedding or some kind of event, private people thing, his job is to, of course, see about everybody, but he wants to show up to be popular and not deliver anything. I mean, that is despicable. But go ahead, my friend.
If he really care about he, because he really care about he got camera on his side.
Yes.
To the Puna side. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right up on that Friday. And this woman and Gerald Hines, right? Yeah. She come and she was giving a speech. She said, I have 9,000 police officers. And she called for unity. Unity to do what? You can't solve nothing, you can't detect nothing. Right? And most of the cases, I could say that if it's not a PNM person involved in these things, you don't solve it. Yes. Right? You jump in fast when PNM people have matters, but they ain't doing nothing. And I see yesterday, right? The TAT, Telecommunication Authority.
Yes.
They sent a letter for Iowa George and tell him that his license might be in breach. But
send a letter to who?
Iowa George, this Juju
Iowa George, okay.
Co-host.
Yeah.
But they made statements on the show regarding Frank C. Passad.
Right.
And apparently the man, somebody from that show, called the man up and threatened to kill him.
Oh, I see.
And there was a set of racist slang and kind of thing on the show. Yeah, the whole thing there. Right. He went and he made reports to the police and nobody intervened, you know. This is a sitting judge, you know, and they're making claims to try to kill him and all kind of thing and racist remarks. And that's saying they will have to talk about the Iowa George license when he come up. But they should have done fine here already for that. You can't do them kind of thing and malign people the whole kind of stupid statement and you don't charge them for nothing. When Incheon do that, if it's so quick, they come down on he.
Yeah.
But you see Peterson and all them involved in touch, you understand? And this woman, the Juju and them, they with a PNM agenda. So they're doing the nasty work for PNM and Peterson and them fellas sit down there and ain't want to stop that. Look, you see this place? It's upside down in the Lennox.
Yeah.
One route for one set of people and next route for others. Have a good night.
Yes, indeed. But I want to say this. You see, I am more optimistic as we said on the last occasion. I see the glass half full or three-quarter full. And there is a saying as well that you could try to do things as much as you want, but you can't do it as long as you want because there is an underlying principle. If something is wrong, it is wrong. And when, of course, the TAT, the Trinidad and Tobago Telecommunications Authority, come down on, let's say, the program that hosts or houses the ground report, of which I am a member of the talk show team, Andy, Mikey, and myself. And when I was calling Rowley for over a year, a rapist and a pedophile, they were contemplating how to, of course, address the matter. And in this case, very unique, because the approach they adopted was not only to highlight their disagreement or disapprobation as to those sentiments that were being expressed, even though they were factual, even though we said that we could prove it. And so therefore, what you have here is an emasculation of freedom of speech. So what Rowley did, Rowley got his lawyers to write it to 104.7 and tell 104.7, no, write to 104.7 through TAT, to the right of TAT, to ask TAT to take the license of 104.7 because Leno Smith, on several occasions, called Rowley a rapist and a pedophile. Now, we have always argued, before I get back to that specific, we have always argued that Rowley's despicable and, of course, acrid and in too many instances, misogynic statement, hater of women statement, and total disregard for the fact that he is probably nearing octogenarian status, almost 80 years, and that therefore, as Prime Minister, must be an exemplar or one that people can look up to, our young people in particular, and he has proven to be a failure in all of these regards. And so when he speaks of women as golf courses and young girls as hyenas in the African jungle, you know that that is not prime ministerial material. He is not an exemplar, and he cannot, of course, demonstrate fundamental principle of moral, ethical, and values that we have been exposed to and inculcate from tiny tots. Cannot. He has breached all those principles. You see, I'm saying all of that to say that when we make the argument that if we are having a live show and Rowley is talking that kind of what I consider to be acidic statements, making those statements, how could you fault or how could you be eclectic? You could be selective. You could have any moral authority to tell callers or to tell the talk show hosts that they mustn't speak language because children are listening as well, part of the audience. How can they reconcile that principal position with Rowley consistent breach of those fundamental value, moral, and ethical standards? So it is clear Rowley ought not to be no prime minister, and he is no prime ministerial material. That is clear if we have to, of course, logically and rationally evaluate and analyze and come to a conclusion on this matter. No doubt. So I'm saying all of that to say that because TAT is a creature in terms of its management, in terms of its decision makers, in terms of its board, persons close to Rowley and imposed upon us from the PNM, they themselves seem to be in an intellectual and procedural and administrative quagmire. You know what I say? I say they seem to be in an intellectual, administrative, and procedural quagmire because it is clear that their job is to be as equitable as possible, level the playing field for all of the customers, all of the persons that own and have been given broadcasting license. And Rowley has not made it easy for them. But they have a duty not to make it easy for Rowley either. Because you hear madmen who are actually ministers, like the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Amory Brown. You know, he has this, of course, effeminine disposition, like a woman, you know, so I suppose so. Because the last time when he spoke in defense of Rowley and said people must not, of course, be obscene to Rowley and not to make statements against Rowley that are offensive. I had trouble in moving all that makeup he had on in order to see real face. Yeah. But talking that pile of hogwash, Rowley must first respect himself. That is how it works. Not do as I say, but don't do as I do. And Rowley had the audacity on one of the first outings that he had as Prime Minister back in 2015 when Hines invited him up to Laventille West. And he told the audience, do unto others that which, or should I put another way, do not do unto others that which you will not like them to do unto you. Well, what is also permissible, what is also viable, is the converse. Do unto others that which they will do unto you. And Rowley has been doing unto us, stealing our resources, cursing us, I'm talking about obscene expressions. And in my view, if you call a woman a golf course, that is obscene. But let's go straight to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night again, Lennox.
Yes, good night to you.
I was to tell you, right?
Yes.
You see the clip you're playing with how they went by the general office?
The what office?
Auditor General Office.
Yes. Yes.
With all the walk around. Oh, but I think it's my Express House.
Yes.
And Andy was giving an interview. They played that on the Juju Love show. And this worthless oxygeneric, he just called himself Aruka. This foolish man coming and saying that all they should be shamed for what they're doing. And I hear the interview where the man was talking about how they had a peaceful march, the 100 audio, or they just come to talk about what it is, all they're doing, and how it is, all they're siding with, and then all they leave and all they went all the way. This man coming and saying all kind of foolish remarks, saying that all they coming to make what trouble in the
In the what?
In the bring trouble in the capital and
I see.
bring down black people.
Well, that's yeah. No, that's all right.
And you know, Lennox, this man's so stupid, right? He go and paying some kind of thing from the UNC when they had a little get together day, and they was giving out food and stuff now, and calling and saying, look at them, they eating roti and rum, and the daughter's food, right? Bring up Heavy and TC yesterday evening, and saying he eating roti and eating curry duck or some kind of thing right now. Yes, he's a hypocrite because he's bad mouthing people's food and he's going to eating it. The rum content here and he's so bold she calling there and making an idiot of himself. He shouldn't even be on the radio though. Oh gosh, when people, I don't know, Dotish people like that can be on the radio. No, I really wish you only have this kind of food on the radio. Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course. Well, all I have to say to that is that there is none as blind as he or she who refuses to see. That's not as blind, right? And who the gods wish to destroy, as we are seeing unfolding on a daily basis in Trinidad and Tobago with this government, who the gods wish to destroy, they first send them mad. So these people are going mad. They really have no sense of purpose and of patriotism. And while squalor, destruction, and economic disaster looms and envelopes the country, and the individuals themselves and institutions. These people, of course, will wish otherwise. Well, I say wishful thinking. Wishful thinking is not permissible in the present circumstance. That is wishful thinking. So I will not be too upset with such an individual, because I'm sure when they go to sleep, their conscience will tell them that they're making an ass of themselves. You know, I say the conscience will tell them they're making an ass of themselves. And when Rowley, of course, will have gone to sleep, whether he has, of course, somebody in his bed or not, I'm sure that person will be saying, and those who he would have considered it to be more close to him and more, should I say, he would have to respond to, his immediate family and his immediate circle would be telling him, they have a duty to tell him, it's nonsense you're doing. You're playing the fool. And therefore, it's just, in other words, why they may not go that far, I would conclude it's just a matter of time. I've seen some blurring taking place on the system. You could, of course, inform me, but I think it is legitimate. As I said, we have two systems in terms of providing internet, and I don't like what I'm seeing. We didn't have that last Thursday. Now we are seeing it too regular so far for me not to be concerned. And it takes away, from your focus and your attention and so on. But I want to tell you that, let me just see if I can take off some of the material that may be on the system that it may have caused some kind of overload at this point in time. But I need to make certain. Yeah, to make certain. Yeah, let me see if I can take off these two pieces of items and see if it would improve. Because I need to have, of course, you see in the background the efforts we made on Thursday to have all and sundry note. And I want to tell you that it was extremely refreshing to see that you have an institution, just as the reception we got from the DPP and the Commissioner of Police, as well as the EBC as well. Similar, we delivered letters and so on, and we were able, of course, to get around the need to apply for permission. We don't have to apply for permission to assemble. So a police officer asked me that question, and I just ignored by just walking off while speaking to him and say, I don't need to get permission to do what we are doing. And he had to accept that as a fact, because it is a fact. We don't need permission to assemble in a public place. We don't need permission to walk the streets. We don't need permission to enter or to assemble around a government premises, because that's a public place as well. We need permission to march, we know that. And therefore, we don't claim to be marching. We claim to be walking. And I trusted that those persons who missed last Thursday will, of course, be prepared for a renewal. So I thought it was important, of course, to treat with that and to share with you some of the highlights of last Thursdays, and to emphasize how significant it is and how important you were in that whole process, because we can only organize, we are the organizers, but you are the executioners, and boy, did you execute. But I want, of course, to go quickly to another matter. I told you that I'll pick it up today. Yes, the nature of and the tendency of Dr. Rowley to be obnoxious. The nature of Dr. Rowley to be obnoxious, to demonstrate that he has no moral authority to ask our young folks, whether at kindergarten, primary school, or secondary or tertiary, he has no moral authority to ask them to be respectful. He is no exemplar. He is no role model. He is not one that one would want to emulate simply because in his public life thus far, and one doesn't expect this tree to bend now that it is so old. And he told us that he's a man, nobody could change he now. But if nobody could change you now, and the job that you hold, it requires that you display a behavior and oration that will inspire and motivate, but instead you decry, you insult, you devastate psychologically the children, the grown-ups, the elderly, then it is clear that you have no business being in the office of Prime Minister, because the job requires that you, at minimum, adjust your behavior, your language, to treat with that. Let us hear what Rowley would typically say. It's important that we get back to it, because when he comes back from this, what I consider to be otious trip, unnecessary trip, it is not important. Yeah, it's not important, people. You go to Ghana, Ghana is in the jaws of a IMF program. So what you went there for? To do what? To bring back waters? Because somebody invited at our expense? Having regard, of course, to the public outcry as to the amount of time that he is going out of the country and the expenditure associated with it. That trip is unnecessary. Yeah, unnecessary. He cannot identify to us what are the benefits of Trinidad and Tobago. It can't be good relations with Ghana. We have already established that. So it appears that there must be something more in the mortar than the person. And with Rowley, don't be surprised, there must be something more sinister. It cannot be that he is pursuing, of course, the best salesman for Trinidad and Tobago, going to a place where we can't get any sale, or they themselves want, should I say, benefits from us. They're in an IMF program, people. Ghana is in an IMF program. Check it out. Go and Google it. You will see that the second tranche of that program, the drawdown was in January of this year. So let us not waste time. But people, of course, the lines are open. I believe the lines are open. Of course, you can call me at 337-6940, 337-6940. But let us hear, of course, this despicable, rambunctious, ugly, multi-sinned, and clearly a total rapscallion, a criminal in more ways than one, and want, of course, to stay there, to continue to do us evil. A total failure. Listen to Rowley.
And because she knows that I love women, she thinks I love any woman. Like she loves me, like she loves no other man. And because she knows that I love women, she thinks I love any woman. I have taste. And when I don't take one, she unfurries back. The lady is naked all alone. And she's scratching and boring. The real lady is coming up. The lady is coming up. When they say, bring on it, what? He's coming up. A lawyer who was on the verge of being your attorney general, sucking from the nipple of the prime minister. She could jump high, she could jump low. She could drink this, she could drink that. She could back on the dog, we could ignore she jack. Coming with a coattail telling you, vote for Kamala. That is tantamount to hugging up a porcupine to go to bed. To do this to you. To rape us with an umbrella. And worse, to open the umbrella after. You gotta post like a woman. You gotta groom her every day. Otherwise it turns into a pasture. I choose my words very carefully. I choose my word very carefully. You could behave as an effective opposition leader, but geometry is not really the way to deal with these things. 1/3 of the murders in recent times are domestic.
All right. Okay. Welcome, caller. A pleasant good night. Pleasant good night.
Good night, Leno. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
You have me laughing here, boy. You have me laugh.
Tell me.
You say you tell me when this man going in bed. He just can't get to go in bed, but this special man will be blocking him. And here what going on? Why he going Ghana? Why he going Ghana? He want Ghana to take back that special award that they give the Ghanese president, but I give you that way he study going for. Because they want to know. He want to know how you could give an Indian. But he didn't do nothing to get nothing. Because no right thinking person would give you anything. The man, I don't know, the man had no sense, he had no brains, and he can't think for himself. And what make it worse? The supporters of them, like them and all can't think for themselves, boy. Me, here, man, I cannot take that, vote for somebody and this thing happen and I staying quiet. And when they say anything out of it, we still clapping? No. So you take it easy, Lennox. You just have me laughing here. Just let me call you and give you a word or two.
I hear you.
Okay, good night to everybody.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed, caller. Well, of course, the line is open, and of course, you can choose to. I know that there is some blurring of the video. I'm watching it on the monitoring screen. All right, so we will solve that because last Thursday when we last met, we did not have that development. That's a new development. Of course, don't forget, of course, tomorrow morning, Dr. Khalid and myself, I cannot overemphasize, we will have some ads going on and we have some new features and all of that. And we will try, of course, to, as much as possible, to reduce this tendency for blurring of the video. I think it is annoying at minimum, and at best, I think it takes away from the concentration. Even me, right here, and I am, of course, delivering the material that is supposed to reach you. So let us not be perturbed there. Let me, of course, continue with Dr. Rowley and his misogynic and obscene and callous and toxic and what I consider to be always in a state of irascibility. He always vexed. His apoplectic nature knows no boundary. Like he vexed with the world. And so children will pass in it. The criminals will pass in it. The parents will pass in it. the women in particular he targets, especially Kamala Persad-Bissessar. And to me, that tells me he's not only a coward, but he suffers from a tremendous, acute state of inferiority complex, knowing full well that everything he has touched of a major nature in Trinidad and Tobago, telling us in the beginning that he could do more with less, that ass, telling us he could do more with less. And then when it is convenient, when of course public servants eventually ask for the money, he then said that's an impossible equation. Well, nothing different to when he said that if you're closing the fridge, let me tell you that the government is not closing down Petrotrin. He did that. He did that. And of course, more recently, when of course he was boasting up and down the country, indicating that PAMASA is an example of how a person can turn state weakness as incongruent and as asinine and as illogical and as lack of common sense. That is because nobody in the criminal justice system, if they are making themselves or offer themselves to be state witness, it means therefore they were part and parcel of the crime. They were there and they therefore have and were also charged. And so in order for them to escape the penalties that is associated with a guilty verdict, they then, of course, do what? They turn state witness to get away from that. This ass called Rowley, and let me don't waste time with this man. This ass called Rowley is telling us that PAMASA got money to be a state witness in a criminal matter. You see, I say so because he was referencing, of course, let me just take this call. Pleasant good night on air. Yeah.
Oh, okay, only that. Okay.
All right, okay then. All right, my friend. Yes. He was referencing, of course, the matter with Vincent Nelson, and said that Vincent Nelson turned state witness, and he went as far as to say he turned state witness to put what? To put handcuff on former members of the PP or the Kamala Persad-Bissessar. He did all that. And then it turned out that it was a concoction. It was a perversion of the course of the criminal justice system. And that is the second major infringement of this man. The first, of course, is with, of course, the fake oil, when the entire cabinet came together to mash up, close down, destroy Petrotrin, just to save this despicable rapscallion. Understand what is happening here. Understand? And what he did when we found out that he and his criminal gang called the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago PNM, a criminal enterprise under the umbrella called PNM. What he did, they conspired and decided to get rid of Al-Rari and throw him under the bus, but not far. Because they made him, of what? The Minister of Local Government. So they rewarded him. But let's go to the line. Pleasant good night.
Hi, good afternoon, Lennox. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon to you as well. Good evening to you as well.
Let me first congratulate you on your human service and carrying on the fight for all these numbers of years. I take my hat off to you.
Thank you very much.
In that regard, you are a blessing, an unsung hero in some parts. I don't think that people fully appreciate what it is that you try to do and are doing for them without payment. Let me first congratulate you on that.
Yes.
In the second half of that, I personally don't feel that Dr. Rowley likes black people. Let me say that again. I have try to understand why it is he do or does the things that he does to people. So the basis of his support, the base of his supporters is that they vote for him based on him looking like them. The PNM party being supposed to be a party that represents them. But then the policies for over the past 60 years have left the supporters of that party at the bottom of the table and continue to be victimized so on a daily basis. On a daily basis. You can go to any PNM community and find that community in the worst of circumstances. And then you have a fella running the party that comes and tell them, we love you, and the supporters either say, if they disenfranchised, that they're not voting anymore, but they still don't want to admit that the party doesn't like them. That is the problem. They still do not want to admit that this party that they have put generations, grandfathers, mothers, sons, daughters into, they admit at will, they carry out their own persecution of their own brothers. The roads is in a mess. It damages your car. It causes you injury. It causes you expense. And then further to that, the government turns around and unleashes the police to further put you at harm, to further put you at expense, while the finance minister laughs. And Dr. Rowley sits there, knowing this is taking place to his supporters, says nothing and then defends it and doesn't do anything to help them. And yet the supporters say, I ain't voting, but I ain't complaining either. I'd rather stay quiet because PNM is my party. How can the party be yours and be doing this to you for generations? And you keep not understanding that this party is not for you. It's a charlatan. The people that are there looking like you are not in your favor. They only appease themselves. They only care if they are getting through. Once they are getting through, they move out of the neighborhood. And they don't look back. And only return when they want your vote. They conveniently know when to look for you. And at the other time, their only interest is to persecute you, or find, or come, or team up against you. And yet, you keep defending them. What is wrong with us, Lennox? What is wrong with us? Why do we love people to persecute us like that and then turn around and love them?
Yeah.
What it is with us? Why we keep on doing this? Why do we continue allowing people to do us this? And then find an excuse for that mistreatment. What? Oh God, man, I don't know.
I hear you, my friend.
Don't want to put a hand.
Yes.
And
yes.
Thanks to the word. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, of course, you know, the rarity has manifested itself with that particular caller. It's not very often, as you know, I will give kudos to the point where I say go to the top of the class. But I think that caller deserves going to the top of the class. I think his analysis has been what we have been, of course, projecting from time immemorial. In fact, we have analyzed it and we have summarized it in various forms and tones as well as expressions. One of which, of course, come to mind immediately is that of the PNM and therefore Rowley being a pseudo-racist. And I hasten to always explain because when that term was used by Pandey, Ken Gordon took him to court because Pandey called Gordon a pseudo-racist. But a pseudo-racist is an individual who uses his own race, members of his own race, his own tribe, to advance themselves without looking back, as the caller said, without, of course, generating the opportunity for others to reach where they have reached. It is called, of course, an elitist agenda in more ways than one. But the fact of the matter is that, yes, what comes to mind clearly from the description and the conversation and the argument made by the last caller is that Rowley and they are pseudo-racists. And he made the point that they rely on the African community in particular, pretended that they are of, for, and of course in support, and were nurtured and evolved as a consequence of Africanism. And in particular, of course, the East-West corridor, we have to put it in a geographic perspective as well. And of course, the deep southern part of the country, in particular, of course, La Brea and Point Fortin, where the Africans settled in the oil belt. But by and large, the freed African slaves, when they moved from the plantations, whether it be in Woodbrook. Yes, Woodbrook was once a sugarcane, a sugarcane field. And of course, Central, that 90,000 acres from Curep right up to just north of San Fernando Hill. Well, when they got their freedom, or just before, they would run to the hills and occupied, of course, the hills. And then, of course, you had the moving of the capital city from St. Joseph to where it is now in Port of Spain. And therefore, the natural occupants would have been Africans along this stretch of Trinidad and Tobago, now called the East-West Corridor, which, of course, this program is designed to address. And I want to say as well, that the politics evolved from that epoch in history, because after 1956 and coming down the road, because the demographic of Trinidad and Tobago was settled, where Africans settled, where Indians settled, where, of course, where Indians and Africans in the main, the politics emerged out of that and generated a dominance for Eric Williams and others who would have from time to time occupied the PNM, whether it be at the leadership level. Leadership here doesn't mean leader, mean leadership, meaning that the entire executive, if you want to call it that, of the PNM, and those who make the decision as to the direction of the party. And so, to evolve institutions such as the EBC, and they're beholding to, of course, the PNM, while it's in office. And today, what we are seeing is the most great and the greatest travesty of democracy and the undermining of the electoral process, because the PNM had dominated the political sphere in Trinidad and Tobago for too long, or far too long. For far too long. And so he asked the pertinent question, why? Why are Africans in particular along the East-West corridor that, of course, has propped up this administration for all these years and of course, continues so to do, why are they suckers for punishment from Diego Martin in the west to Arima in the east. I want to leave out, of course, Sangre Grande, because I believe Sangre Grande has, of course, come of age and has evolved to a point where I think it can be safely said, even though, of course, it is in the hands of the PNM at this point in time. But I make the parallel between Sangre Grande, Toko Sangre Grande, and that of course, Moruga Tableland. You see? So that I expect that will be sluggishly over time in the hands of the UNC. But of course, that is not the only basis for my analysis as to where these two constituencies have come from and are now sluggishly in the corner of the UNC. I have, of course, to look at San Juan, today's San Juan Barataria, and to say that the great Kamaluddin Mohammed couldn't keep out the UNC from dominating, and no one in their right mind, whether you are a sophologist, those who monitor elections, or you are a PNM, or you are a UNC, or you are an apologist for the PNM, nobody could say in their right rational thoughts conclude that San Juan Barataria will ever be in the hands of the PNM moving forward. So those are some of the evolutionary elements that I would like, of course, to add to the last caller's beautiful presentation, in my view. And, of course, to evaluate and to analyze as to why it is that Africans appear to be suckers for punishment. Because we know that they are bright. We know that they are conscious. We know that they can, when the time comes, act in their best interests. And history will always, of course, be there to analyze and to, of course, certify any position once it has a historical background. And that is 1986 to the Treaty, where the PNM could have hardly gotten any support on the East-West corridor, including the Diego Martins, and only, of course, the Laventille East and West, were the only savior for the PNM in the 1986 election. So it is not that there is no history that they would remain focused on the PNM. History would have shown that there would have been a breach, a break, a severing with relationship with the PNM. What has to happen, clearly, is that there must be a revival. There must be a renaissance of those elements and factors that would have contributed to the abandonment by the Africans of the PNM. And this must include, of course, the constituencies of the Laventilles, for this to come full circle and be a viable and sustainable project for the entire nation. Yeah, must be. Must be. And he's right. Now that the people along the East-West corridor are now saying they will not vote, the argument from, as far as I am concerned, is not just tending towards, but telling me that there are signs of abandonment of the PNM by, of course, the African community. But, of course, the first stage of that process is to first acknowledge that They are poison. They are pernicious. You cannot tell me that all of you would agree to property tax, increase in electricity, and we can go on and on. But let's go straight, of course, to the line. Pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome.
I will answer that question.
Yes.
Yeah, good night, Lennox.
Yes.
I go answer the question for you. Why? Because they changed the slave master from a white man to a black man. You understand?
All right, I hear you. That's what we have granted.
Yeah. Lennox.
Yes, go ahead.
Lennox.
Yes, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
They changed they changed the slave master from a white man to a black man. So they love the slave mentality now. This man could do them what he want. He could abuse them. He could tell them what he want. He could, do the worst of them. As long as he have them as a vote bank in these areas, and he just got to drop a banana skin or call race, and they're quick to run back to him. Wait, watch and see. They come in with a rhetoric. They'll always committed for every election. And so they get these people. All they have vote bank, and they know nothing better than that. Like Heavy and TC did, we played that song. Doggy look at bone. When the election done, all the bone finish. They have no bone for the next 4 years, and after the 4 years done, when the election here, they get a little bone and they vote for that. So that's how Rowley and the PNM agenda and propaganda machine does work. Race and tribalism. Have a good day then.
Yes, indeed. Well, let me conclude my agreement with the previous caller, and of course the evaluation by the last caller, the very last caller. Why am I very optimistic is because of the fact that 1986 occurred, 1995 occurred, 2000 occurred, even 2001 occurred, even though there was a 1818 scenario that, of course, was, I should say, was dishonestly, I could say that now, dishonestly settled by Robinson. A man I revere, but it was dishonest. Cannot talk in the same breath with, of course, about the PNM and talk about moral and ethical standards. No. Moral and ethical values. No. Moral and spiritual values. No, not with the PNM. So we know that was a dishonest act and an act of vengeance by Robinson. And of course, maybe Pandey, in spite of his guru nature, in spite of his eruditic political disposition, very pedantic in terms of analyzing the politics and being able to beat the PNM in 2000 outright. The fact of the matter is that the decision by Robinson, consequential of the agreement by the incumbent with that of the opponent. I'm talking here about Patrick Manning and that of Basio Pandey. I'm sure even now in his grave, he would have regretted that he agreed to, of course, have this man who had some clearly long-standing vendetta, because the normative conduct, the normative behavior would have been the incumbent did not lose, even though he did not win. But the challenger, Manning and the PNM, did not win. But they did not lose either. So when you balance the scale, Pandey was supposed to continue in government, even though it would have been a challenge, as was the case when it was given to Manning. The difference was Manning got an opportunity to utilize the treasury and therefore put the PNM in a propaganda advantageous position, which he capitalized upon and won the following elections. Let's go straight to the line. Of course, I find I'm using the phone regularly these days, but that's all right. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Mr. Leno Smith.
Yes.
Pleasant night. Okay, I would like to share some information based
Go ahead.
on this whole situation about slavery.
Yes.
No. Putting podcasts about the name of Candice Owens. She's a black woman.
Okay.
And she was sharing some information based on African slaves.
All right.
African tribes were enslaved in African tribes in Africa.
Right.
The Europeans couldn't go into Africa to bring out the tribes. It's the African tribe leaders them because the Europeans could not go in because of the fierce warriors that they had.
Yes.
So the Europeans negotiated with the tribe leaders, and the tribe leaders brought out the tribe. Now there is something we have in present day that you call political slavery.
Repeat that term.
Remember the term house in? Those that had privilege in the house with the slave master.
Yeah, I understand.
And those that work in the field. Right? Those that work in the field.
Yes.
Those that work in the house had more privilege.
Yes.
So we have right now a leader who is doing the same trend of using the black people to get their votes for the Europeans, which is the 1%. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Beautiful, succinct analysis. It boils down to taking advantage of your own. The pseudo-racism concept that I enunciated earlier. All right, so I thought I should, make an intervention there because the question is asked once again and remains, of course, unanswered in totality, of course. Why? Why are they so gullible? Why are this, I talk about Africans here, susceptible to punishment? Why are they suckers for the abuse? Some of the information, of course, we have and we can analyze, but there is greater and deeper analysis that must be addressed. You see, Rowley and them and the PNM are not lying down. So that while we can say that they have raised property tax and raised light bills and of course lied and say that they would not of course interfere with subsidies and of course property tax and the Petrotrin, there is another more bizarre, dangerous, toxic, evil, wicked and sinister plot, which is the propaganda machinery of the PNM. Understand that. Do not for one moment leave that out of the equation. That is how they are able, of course, to at least up until even now be able to fool and deceive quite a lot of Africans, particularly that critical mass that is required for them to stay in office. Understand that. That is something we must, of course, look at its genesis and what are some of the components and how do we dismantle that in the interests of the country by extension, but more specifically in the interests of the African. How do we dismantle that propaganda machinery that is live, well, and continues? And don't tell me I don't understand what I'm talking about, because, of course, I can refer to you to, of course, the banana and the monkey talk. I can refer to you to the refer you to the Calcutta ship. Understand that. And of course, the constant bombardment that Kamala and them thief, and that they must not be trusted, and suggesting that every Indian is a thief. Understand that. But they are devious enough. They are devious enough to vanish, if not paint over, those Indians that are in the PNM and those Indians in a bizarre and very unholy and unhealthy state of reciprocity. They have become PNMized. In other words, part and parcel of that criminal enterprise and play the part. Play the part. But I want to end this conversation, as far as I am concerned, because there is more to add, because we must examine that propaganda machinery that keeps, of course, the African community in bondage as a voter bank, as the caller rightly said. But I want to say, what they didn't cater for, and they're having tremendous difficulty, and I'm elated as I started tonight, they didn't plan for social media. They didn't plan the fact that a man every night could take 2 hours to, of course, edify, educate, as well as engage in conversation to arrive at the deconditioning that is required in order for Africans to act in their own best interests and see, of course, alternatives to this maroon bunch of opportunistic, political, self-serving parasites. And therefore, sweet liberation, sweet being set free from the psychology of the PNM propaganda. Let's go back, of course, to the obscene, obnoxious, misogynic, and, of course, totally and absolutely barbaric utterances of a man who is supposed to be our Prime Minister and must display the standard of behavior that is expected, and have failed so miserably.
Domestic violence or domestic issues. And then that you call on the Prime Minister to do something about crime. I'm not in your bedroom, I'm not in your choice of men. Young girls behaving violence or domestic issues. And then that you call on the Prime Minister to do something about crime. I'm not in your bedroom, I'm not in your choice of men. Well, very carefully. You could behave as an effective opposition leader, but geometry is not really the way to deal with these things. 1/3 of the murders in recent times are domestic violence or domestic issues. And then that you call on the Prime Minister to do something about crime. I'm not in your bedroom, I'm not in your choice of men. Wow. Behaving in a manner like hyenas in the African jungle. Parents who breed monsters at home and send these monsters to teachers. The government is not closing down Petro-Trin.
Sorry about that caller callback. I was just delaying a bit to hear that. I thought it would have your call would have turned up on the screen, so I didn't have to use the handheld device. So you can call back. Sorry about that.
In case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago, is not closing down Petro-Trin. See these boots I'm wearing? We the farmers of Tobago.
There seemed to be a pause there.
And because she knows that I love women, she thinks I love any woman. I have taste. And when I don't take on Sean Ferry's back, the lady is naked all alone. And she's scratching and all around. And Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin. See these boots I'm wearing? We the farmers of Tobago and Texas, we call them shit pickers, right? And I'm hoping that I met Dr. Munilal today. I will tell you, like she loved me, like she loved no other man. And because she knows that I love women, she thinks I love any woman. I have taste. And when I don't take on Sean Ferry's back, the lady is naked all alone. And she's scratching and all.
Let's leave alone this despicable, this rapist and this pedophile was disgraced to the office of Prime Minister, and shame on you, PNM. Let's get back, of course, to the matter of the day, and that is the people, because of people power and defying, of course, the illusion that somehow the PNM believe that they have a monopoly on power. We show them on Thursday that they are not. And there's nothing sacrosanct about them, but a bunch of opportunistic criminals. A pleasant good night.
A pleasant good night to you.
Pleasant good night to you as well.
Yes, I'm living away. I'm calling in just on the outside looking in. You know.
Oh, okay then. Thank you very much for calling. What country are you calling from?
I'm calling from the U.S. Virgin Islands.
New York. All right, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm from Trinidad, but I don't like what's happening home. It's like a dictatorship.
Yes.
And if we don't get rid of that regime, it will be worse than Haiti.
Yeah. We agree. You have people who have been sold on that a long time ago. So you are in good company.
So I'm praying, we have to pray. Pray is the key, because this man is a demon. They sell their soul to Satan, so they need blood.
Yes.
So I pray a lot. So we got to pray about that so they could fall. We have to ask to remove them because they deal with evil. They're using evil.
Yes.
That's why I have so much bloodshed on the land.
Yes.
So I'm praying against it and asking God to pull them down. And we all have to come together. Everybody have to come together. If everybody could join as one, I don't care, UNC, NTA, everybody come together. Everybody form an alliance.
Yes.
They have to go.
Yes.
They don't need to get one seat.
That's right. That is my view as well.
Yes. So I'll keep in touch. My name is Jackie, so it's nice talking to you.
Thank you very much. Of course, I'll have my assistant, of course, maybe make a little communication as well. Thank you very much, of course, for your contribution.
Yes, definitely. And I want to come home so I could vote.
Right, great. I see some people came, two of them came to be part of
I made up my mind. I made up my mind to leave out here this American system and come home and vote to get these people out. Yes.
Yes, very good.
Because I have
very
my
good.
children home.
Very good, very good. Your patriotism, patriotism, welcome. And of course, I think it has no boundary because you're in a foreign land and yet still you are concerned about home. Very good.
Yes, I watch this every day. I love my home. That's my home.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes, and he's a dictator. And people, you see people only looking at how shall I say? Just looking at the outward. It's not an outward. You have to deal with it spiritual also. A lot of prayers.
That's right. Yes. It's very complex. Yes, I agree with that.
Prayers.
Yes.
And God, listen. God said in the Bible, when a wicked king is in power, the people mourn, and that's what's going on right now.
That's right.
Right? So when a good king is in power, the people rejoice.
That's right.
And we have to do things for the youth also, whereby we could help the youth find out what their problem is, visit the areas that they need, that they need help. Besides sports, we need what happened to the centers where they could learn trade, to build a house,
That's right.
to do cooking, to do agriculture,
That's
to
right.
do farming, to do tile work,
Yes.
Learn to do, things with their hands, because not everybody have that brain for school. But
That's right.
you teach them trade.
All of us will be happy.
Teach a man how to fish.
That's
you don't
right.
give him a fish every day. You teach him how to fish.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So I already made up my mind, I'm going to start packing my bags because I coming home. I coming to vote them out. I join and I coming home. I have your numbers. I'm going to save it. I voting to vote them out.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contribution and for your.
I'm out here 20
for
years.
your motivation.
20 years,
I think this
20
is
years
motivation.
now, 21 years, and I'm finally coming back home just because I look at it and I don't like what's happening, and everybody out there telling me, yeah, this place look like if they don't get rid of this guy, it's Haiti, more than Haiti, you know.
Yes.
But he's gonna fuck country right for the crime, but he don't for the crime because he has to get bloodshed. You see, that's why I talk about spiritual aspect.
Yes.
You know,
Okay.
they use it but not God done machinery. God done machinery.
Yes, we see that the business unfolding in front of us. So thank you very much for your contribution.
You're welcome. Have a blessed night.
Yes, I'll come back anytime. We'll appreciate your contributions.
Oh, thank you so much. Will do for sure. Will do.
Right. Yes, because we had a call from New York. So I want to make sure that every syllable, every energy in her send you because she said she's coming back to vote. That's music to all of us. Go ahead. I want to say that Rowley would think opposite. He should go to be wrong. Yes. But, yes. Yeah.
And not casting disrespect or attack.
Yes, indeed. I think that is a perfect boomerang. That's a boomerang. That monster that has found himself, should I say, by hoodwinking in the office of Prime Minister today. All right, people, of course, I see another call coming in, but we are just about, we have just concluded in terms of time. We 8 minutes past, of course. Let's take this final call, and then, of course, we will close. President, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah, I'm calling from San Fernando.
Yes, go ahead, San Fernando.
I know I don't have much time because I was trying to get onto you all the time.
Yeah,
but,
I noticed it, but of course, so much way to be here.
Yeah, I agree with you that the propaganda machine of the PNM can be dismantled.
Yes.
And we should at least strive to dismantle it.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah.
Yes. And one of your callers was making a statement just now that with the slavery.
Yes.
I think, but that could be a topic to be debated. But that will take real long to debate that what really actually took place with slave and the slave trade.
All right.
Because I believe it was actually the European man was wicked, but slavery in Africa, yes, I would agree it went on, but not to the extent to which the white people took it.
All right, okay. I see. I mean the transatlantic or the what they call the
that's right.
The triangular the triangular journey. Yeah.
So that the African people were actually they didn't even know that whole thing with the Atlantic slave trade was going to happen.
Yes.
Right? But they had I forget the term that they use in terms of like if people like you have 100,000 people living in one tribe.
Yes.
And somebody commit a crime, they would let that person serve in like a prison or something, or serve the community that kind of way.
Yeah.
That is what was going on. But when the European man went in, they found it difficult, yes. But the Africans were not really, to say the whip.
Yeah.
You understand? And
Yeah,
the width that we're talking about that happened, and then all this thing with the Atlantic slave trade happened.
Yes.
Where they kill people, they make them walk the planks, you know, all them kind of things.
Yeah. Well,
So, you know,
the horse latitude, they call it, when
Yeah,
they
that's
can
right.
walk the plank, when there was no wind to move the sails or to engage the sails, they throw them off and lighten up
Throw
the
them
ship.
off the boat.
Yes,
Yeah.
and of course, so many died and so on. No, I think it's a good topic to ventilate, just for the edification of the typical African. Because, of course, as the caller rightly said, there were some elements of that taking place in Africa. And, of course, I could go further than what you have said in terms of jail, but there were tribal wars. And therefore, they were capturing, of course, their enemies. And, of course, one way to dispense of their enemies easily was to give them, of course, to the people who were slave hunters, or somebody like to see from Pfizer.
All that went on too,
yeah. Right? So there's quite a number of things. But, of course, no doubt, the trade itself did exacerbate the quest and the division and the wars probably that would have given rise for the large number of persons who became, of course, victims of this heinous and human tragedy called, of course, the African Atlantic slave trade. So there's quite a number of things that we have to look at in order to get a handle or a comprehensive grip intellectually and otherwise as to and what impact it has as to why we are who we are today, and all of that could be in the mix in terms of the discussion.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. No problem. Okay then.
All right.
Yes. All right, people. Of course. Well, we have come to the end. We have had comments from far and wide. We have, of course, in Trinidad, Tobago, abroad, and of course, tomorrow night. Well, don't forget, of course, first and foremost, tomorrow morning, Dr. Khalid and myself will be discussing these and other issues, but looking more from a solution perspective. And therefore, what I consider to be the hot and what I consider to be raw material will not be featured in that discussion, but certainly you are invited on the same line to come in and, of course, participate. It's from 8 to 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning. Yes, it is Mother's Day, but we cannot relent. We have a duty and responsibility. There cannot be any, as I say, relenting or any complacency. We must be able to, of course, be focused, consistent, and persistent. That is crucial. And, of course, because the greatest bane to the PNM right now, the greatest challenge to their propaganda machinery, their greatest debilitation and their fear is that there are people like myself who are prepared to invest along with you, whether by your contributions, I'm talking here in terms of your expressions and your intellect, or your financial support, or your material support. Today, for example, when I told a particular businessman that yes, we have an air-conditioned unit, it requires 220 electricity, but I don't have the money to run the wires or get the relevant accommodation. Well, guess what? He said, say no more, Mr. Smith. Call this guy and I will fund the whole thing. And right now, of course, they have put in the air-conditioned unit. I'll show it to you during the course of one of the programs. But when he checked, he realized that there's a shortage of the 220 current. We have a 110 supply. So I will have to get another electrician to look at it and to bring in the 220 so that the air conditioning unit can work. So people are making their contribution, and all because they recognize the value of social media. And that is why Andy had to divert the crowd in defense of the Auditor General to Express House, to Guardian Media, and then to the office of the Auditor General. And it proved to be a tremendous strategy, because we got the headlines in the Express. We got, of course, significant coverage by the Guardian and by the Newsday as well as some television coverage as well. We have to, of course, spread it, and that is how you would have gotten to know this secret that Rowley and they would like to keep in the country, that somehow the people have been bamboozled, stupefied, and somehow he has some kind of supernatural evil spirit to, of course, keep the people complacent and placated. No, far from it. And as I've always said, it's going to be a long, hot 12 months, 2024, for the PNM. And it has started in earnest. As I said, and I will continue to say, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. See you tomorrow morning on the Corridor Transformation, Dr. Khaled and myself, as we discuss these and other matters. And back tomorrow night, yours truly will continue, of course, to deal with these and other topics. So, as we started, we are patriots, and therefore, Trinidad is my land, and of it, I am proud and glad. And like others in the diaspora, they too are yearning for Trinidad and Tobago to be what we know it can be, and that is to say the paradise that we all aspire. God bless, and bye-bye.
Trinidad is my land, and of it I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people just talk it bad. But I know all of them we running them out. Don't know where they're talking about. They would paint you black every day, and the right things they would never say. Like our sportsmen being rated among the best. Our scholars have sit and passed every test, and put us right alongside the rest. But then our pitch lake is the greatest one of its kind. Our sugar and oil is really refined. So you see, friends, this is a real thing, Solomon's mind. They just talk some nonsense. Me ain't know where they're doing it for. About so much violence, man, you would swear that we fighting war. Of course, we have we delinquents to face, but just like any other place, look, things that I say about here is really too much for me to bear, because my people are daily making progress without any form of stupidness, and in this way we must gain success. For when we move in, we all move as one body, no bickering between you and me. For our policy stands for racial equality. Now when a stranger spending a little time in this lovely isle, every day you see him, he always have a hearty smile. When his time is up to depart, he would say with pride in heart, I'll be back, you could bet your life. And if I can't come, I go send my wife. And then he'll tell you he really wants her to come, to drink some rum and have plenty fun in this great island in the sun. For Trinidadian, as foreigners to recall, it doesn't matter whether big or small, or if you're rich or poor, friends, we cater for one and all. So all of them we're talking, they either drunk or they're staring mad. Or maybe they forgetting Mr. Universe belongs to Trinidad. And yet we have men of talent and skill with high hopes of improving still. And if you think all this is a lie, the mighty sniper won't tell you why. Now our steel band
Lennox.
thanks. Like an episode of stories are told, with this written to touch your soul. So Trinidad, this lovely land of my book, small but overwhelming in hope. And as you know, Carnival is the greatest frolic on earth.
Yes. Yeah, nobody knows.
You do a good job.
Nice. Okay. Why everybody have the opinion? Let's see how it goes.
People power.
People power. People power. People power. People power. People power. People power.
People power.
Yeah, man. See you there. I'm going to go call you. Yeah. Same here. Yes, man. Yes, that's how it have to be. Yeah, man. That's how it have to be. Hey. Oh, God, yes. We can talk. 337-6940. If you're the live every night, you get me?
All right. Hey, this one. I can talk while you think.
Yeah.
If you ask me to check 2.6 billion, we go get away. The most I could do is write it for you.
All right,
I can't check that, understand? I have 5 pockets. How much points yours are? I'm sure if you come down here $20, you could find it in one of the 5 pockets. But you can't find $2.6 billion.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to use the effort for you.
Yeah, I know.
Not on you.
I hear you. 4. Hey, darling, how are you going? All right.
I know you work for share, so you got to go here with all the name and them here.
Right, great.
You must collect money, right? Collect your money.
Yeah. All right, good. You're working.
So just remember working.
Yeah, you're working. Yeah, only hard work. You make a man, boy.
I'm so glad to see you, boy.
Tell me.
You know the electric warfare on it, right?
Yeah. It's when they said that the naked woman.
Yeah, I thought that was
you selling them.
My program, yeah.
Your program more than before. When you're going to make some important point.
Oh, right. On the coming forward. Right. Yeah. We know they have the. No. She didn't come in. She had mine. I will take it for.